Alright, should be live. Hopefully everyone can see my bright, shining face. Yeah.
That's not it. It's the video.
Oh, shoot. I'm just gonna get a good confirmation. Hey, what's up, Justino? I'm guessing you're Tino because I recognize your last name.
Okay, there.
Right? Right, Tino?
Here.
Speak to me,
Mic tests.
Please no. Please no what?
Mic test. Okay, so I said it right there.
Please no.
Okay. Here. This is a test. That's how far.
God, I can't reveal his name.
I won't be on camera. Just Tino.
True, change your phone. Charge your phone. Wow. Alright, so just to give a brief overview, this is the very basics. So if you're like an advanced programmer, this isn't really gonna help you much. I'm gonna be going over like what Git is, Git Kraken, and just like the basics of Gamemaker Studio 2. And I'm hoping I'm gonna be checking chat. So I'm hoping that y'all can chit chat, and I'm gonna read that and respond to it. Hey, there you guys are. Just trying to shoot you off over here.
You think Tino should be in like a Discord chat or no?
I mean, I guess we can. Yeah, we can pop up a voice chat. That could be cool.
What do you think, Tino?
Here, I'll just pop up into Misk Streams voice chat.
Yeah.
Streaming. There we go.
Yeah, we're in the stream.
And hopefully y'all can hear that if people come in and join us there. Feel free to join. Let's see. I have knowledge. Get in here, Tino. Right here. Streaming under the
it'll be under
Project Amaranth.
Project Amaranth streaming.
Oh, it's community. Wait, wrong one.
Oh, whoops.
Project Amaranth, there it is. Developer streams, there we go.
There you go. It should be under developer streaming. I think it's in the developer.
No, it's Project Amaranth.
Yeah, Project Amaranth.
Hey, Tino. I can't hear you. Gosh dang it.
Disable streaming mode.
No, that's not. I can still hear people in voice chat. Just need the audio to go through video and voice. Output, speakers.
It's going through my headset.
Hi,
Talk.
Larry.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Talk to me, baby.
Are you the only one that can hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
I heard an echo. That means I'm on a speaker.
Welcome!
I'm gonna keep
Yeah, you're on
talking
it.
so
Should be
you
able to
can
hear
where
yourself
it's
on
coming
stream now.
out. What?
Should be able to hear yourself on stream now.
Oh, hey, what's up, stream? How's it going?
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
What's up, Aaron?
I'm showing. If you can't see it, but I'm showing him the video of him. Yeah, in fact, here, you know what? Here.
Oh, yeah,
This
no, I
is
can hear
awkward.
you on the stream.
This is really meta right here.
I can also hear myself on the stream. Please turn this off.
What now?
Oh, he doesn't want to be here on stream.
Turn off the video of the stream playing audibly into the microphone that's going on stream.
I'm sorry, what?
This kills the ears.
What's going on? Oh,
Alright,
are you hearing a feedback loop from our speakers?
No, not feedback. It's just repetition. Like I have the stream muted actually, right now.
Okay, well that makes sense. So it's all good.
So I
You're
can-
saying?
Yeah, no. Everything's muted on my end. I'm just hearing you in real time. That's how I'm.
Sounds good. All right, let's see. Would join, but in the middle of target. All right. Do we got anybody else in the chat? Speak up.
No, do you want me to ping people?
I already pinged people. I pinged the entire server.
What?
I said I pinged the entire server, so I mean...
Ping the entire server.
Yeah.
Why do you have a
What?
role that's all notifications? You just say at everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's for people can disable it if they don't want notifications.
Oh, so you basically made it to where they'll hear it even if they have notifications off. Or wait, I don't understand what.
The point is do you want notifications? Yes. Then you will get the mention. If not, then it's just a regular message.
You can also suppress everyone.
Yeah, you can't suppress all notifications.
Oh.
That's part of the
That's
like
true.
secret conspiracy theories. Like you're getting the
Yeah, you
notification
can't
now.
suppress direct ads, but you can suppress here and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Anyways, let's get into talking about gigs.
Yeah, let's get started. So, I mean, the first thing I just wanted to go over was like what GitHub is, because that's like the overlaying thing that is needed for our company specifically and most
Sketchbook.
coding. Sketchbook?
It's pretty
Why
important.
would I do that?
I'm gonna go ahead and open up the repo.
What?
What am I going to be doing? I mean, I'm just
You're not doing anything.
exactly doing my sketchbook.
Oh, this!
What did you think I said?
I thought you meant.
Oh, you messed up the camera.
I thought you meant this sketch thing.
No,
I don't know. That's was my question. Why?
I don't know how you interpret that.
Yeah.
I made 2 pencils as well. I'm not right here.
Larry, you're just hanging out, or are you like
Yeah, well,
learning?
sort of, yeah.
My
Well, I
internet's
was
better.
gonna be more on point, but we got him interrupting, so. Where is my GitHub stuff? So, for those listening, go ahead and pop up GitHub on the internet. Where is my GitHub? There it is. So, you're gonna end up with something kind of like this. And I made it private, so it's not like people can access this anyways. So let's find his screen. But yeah, so go ahead and log in, and I went ahead and sent the clone link or whatever to everybody else, but nothing Tina, just shh. Once you get in GitHub, you should have the Project Amaranth here, and that'll kind of display all the changes. The primary purpose of GitHub is so that you can get different commits to it, and it's basically like Google Drive, but like more streamlined for coding or changes in general.
I'm gonna go sharpen my pencils.
Okay.
It's a cloud platform for the Git system.
Yeah.
Best way to describe it.
I don't think you saw me on stream.
But yeah, it's really nice. So you can have just like a master version, and then you can branch off, do work
Git
on
as a
these
whole.
little branches, and then just recommit it back to a master branch. Basically shows me also just every change a developer makes. It's really nice. I can see if they
It's
screwed
just
up
good
something.
version control software for
Yeah.
code bases.
Yeah,
Gets
so-
everything in line. Make
Yeah.
sure nobody messes things up, and if people do, you just roll it back.
For those who don't have access yet, just you need to PM me your username or email or whatever. And then I do recommend downloading GitKraken, which is what I use, or anything similar to it. If you download something else, I can't really help you with it for the most part, but GitKraken, very familiar. We have just kind of a general idea of GitHub in general. Like, so this is our master branch, and then we'll branch out and do like little commits here. So like when I was porting to Gamemaker 2, I did all that in a separate branch, and then, hey, it works, port it back to main. That kind of stuff. You can kind of click these and see individual file changes. Well, apparently I deleted that one. It's not a good example. So I'm just trying to pop up some. Yeah, there we go. So you can see the code I added, for instance. But yeah, watching this in the future, just pause and get all this set up, and then. Oh, yeah, I guess I should explain pushing and pulling. So this is the branch you're currently on, and I guess I can. For instance, the remote has 2 branches, which is the master and the map editor lines. I'm gonna go ahead and check out the map editor lines. So you do check out origin/map editor lines. Boom. Let's wait for Lay's internet to download.
If you wanted me to download anything, you should have asked me to do that yesterday.
That's fine. There we go. So now we have it on our local repository, which just means I can access it, start editing, all that sort. You can always pull. Pull means it'll pull whatever the latest stuff is and merge it with your current work. And then pushing it is kind of the same thing, but you're pushing your changes onto the current branch. And then once you're done with the branch, you can hit, start a pull request, and then that'll shoot it over to GitHub, and I'll confirm or deny it. And that'll go right into the master branch. But if you ever if you're starting a new task, I would go to the latest masters, like go up to here, master, and then hit branch here.
Also, all songs, why that?
Yeah. But anyways, you would create a branch here, just name it whatever you're working on. Then once you're done working on it, start a pull request back to master. Easy peasy stuff, and if you just have more questions, just PM me or whatever. But now let's go to the meat of this. Gamemaker Studio 2. Tino, did I leave anything out of GitHub or
Of how Git works?
Yeah. Anything you want to add to it?
Well, Git Kraken is fairly straightforward in how it works.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go in and give my stupid in-depth spiel about how Git actually works in the spooky tech talk way, so I'm just gonna leave that out.
Alright, well,
I think you were fairly good with your...
that's good. Well, this should be the Gamemaker Studio UC after you create a new project, import a project, whatever. And I'm using the regular, not the drag and drop version, just by the way. We're not going to learn the drag and drop, that's on your own time if you want to do that, but this is coding, this is exactly what you'll be seeing as far as when you're coding Project Amaranth or your own project, eventually. I'm going to move that over there, that's where I like it. So, basics. We're going to go through pretty much all these resources, and then we're going to create a sample project. And that's pretty much going to be the entirety of the stream. So, for instance, let's look at sprites. I'm going to create a new sprite. So, these are basically your image assets. Anything, pretty much for the most part, if it's visual, if it's a picture, it's going to be a sprite. Sprites are pretty nice. You can create multiple images per sprite. Let's see. So I'm going to edit the image. I haven't actually experienced the Gamemaker Studio 2 editing. Let's create a little smiley face.
It's just the...
Ah, cool. So that's how you create new frames.
Hey.
It's progressively getting more depressed. Yeah, there we go.
Amazing animation.
Beautiful.
You better be frowning at 60 frames per second when I'm pissed.
Let's see. You can play the animation.
Yes.
So.
Oh God.
So these are what's called.
Here, so.
Oh, here, Drew. Aaron, your background not be centered is bothering me.
Oh,
So
shut
we need to
up.
update
First of all, okay, I'm not sure he's still watching it, but if he is, it's my background, and second of all, this is two screens. It's thanks to the background decides to do that. But
Yeah.
it's thanks to that Aaron gets to have all of the UI stuff on the right side of the screen,
It's all over
completely
there.
uninhibiting everything he's doing on the left side.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so sprites. I like to name stuff with a prefix like that. Sprite. Smile.
Yo.
And this is just helpful
Hey, it's Ken.
for later references.
Here, Ken,
What's
you should
up,
just go off
Ken?
the stream.
Okay.
Welcome. You in the stream yet, Ken? Or
Yeah, I am.
nice.
Awesome. Well, your voice is being broadcast live to a whole.
Yeah, what's up? To a whole, all of
Two
you,
people.
because you're the only watchers at the moment.
It's me and you, Ken. We're the only people watching this.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's fine. Just
Alright.
you're my target audience, anyways.
Yes. And Tiffany, but Tiffany's.
And Tiff and Reno Kitty.
And I guess me by extension.
Yes.
Anyways, so
I
when
mean,
you're naming
you're
assets,
right
can you guys see like this right here? Like, can you read that?
If I full screen it, I can see it fine. But
Alright.
otherwise, it just looks like. This.
Oh yeah, I can just zoom in.
But that's my end. So don't worry about it. It's all good.
Let me see if I
Oh,
can.
Yeah. SPR underscore
Oh, it's
smile.
clear even on 480p.
okay. So, anyways, every asset I like to put a little prefix, and this really just helps when you're referencing it in code. So, because what if I had an object named Smile? I wouldn't know if it was the sprite or the object I was referencing. So yeah, sprite underscore smile. One of the other important aspects of sprites besides being visual is their collision boxes. I wonder, can you do it? Yeah, collision mask. So like this is what would be colliding with it. And that, I guess it's just pulling from where all the sprites are located. But I mean, you can change that to be any size you want. Oh, tolerance. That's new. Type rectangle ellipse. Woo! That's a pretty dumb ellipse. Diamond? Precision. But anyways, pretty cool stuff. Sometimes I'll create my own sprites just for collision boxes. And in fact, in Project Amaranth, there's like 10 or something collision box sprites. But yeah, so what's new for Gamemaker Studio 2 is that sprites are now also backgrounds. But yeah, so they're like the same thing. It's kind of cool. Yeet. Tile sets. I haven't actually experimented much with this, but let's create our own tile set here. Let's see, what's our options are. Tile walls. Let's see, source image. Your tile preview will appear here. Okay. Oh, and you actually have to select a sprite with this. So let's create a new sprite for sprite wall tile. And I'm gonna go ahead and import something. Edit image. Oh no, that's not what I want. We're going to import. Just give me 1 second while I import one of our artistic tile sets. Buffered sets. We'll do that. Grace. Importing files right is not an undo election.
It just means you can't unimport it.
Okay. It's like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright,
Hey,
so
there we go.
let's select our tile sets.
Hey, that's mine.
Alright.
I happen to know that the width
stretch it out.
is 32 by
Right.
32. We have an offset of 3 for this one. And a separation of 6. There we go. Does it show how many tiles? No, that's just the size. Alright, so now we can use these.
It doesn't look to be encapsulating the whole.
Well, the thing is this is what's called a buffered set, which means the pixels between them aren't actually used. And the only purpose for this
I
is
see.
that
Yeah, that's why they're all stretched out.
in Gamemaker Studio 1.4, sometimes it would pull a pixel next to it, so it would be pulling from the other sprite or the other image. So now it's consistent and it'll be the exact color we want, instead of like, for instance, this black part pulling this brown part over here. Yeet. I don't know too much about tile set usage in Gamemaker Studio 2, I'll just be honest. That'll be something we'll learn and figure out as we go. It's not really too important for beginning though, I would say. Okay, so next we got, can I like increase the size of this or something?
Forward so far.
What's up?
Increase the size of what?
I'm trying to increase the size of this if I can. But that's okay. Sounds. Oh, get out of here. Sounds are pretty cool. We're not gonna really talk about sounds too much, but you know, sound something.
They exist.
It exists. It's pretty self-explanatory, except for like maybe all these
Sounds are
attributes.
Why does the window not scale according to resolution?
What do you mean?
Like look,
This?
like scrolling, yeah, like.
I made it that big.
No, but like look, it's like all the like the letters are like pixelated.
Oh yeah.
Why? Why isn't it scaling
Right.
according
It's
to?
pretty pixelated.
Oh, I'm glad you're scrolling in for the stream. I don't know why it's not scaling according to resolution.
Cool. Thanks for that input. Onto paths.
That's just a weird time.
Paths are pretty explanatory too. You can create a point, and create a path. There you go. You can make them like curved and stuff too. This is not used for the most part, except for certain circumstances where you need something to follow a certain path. For instance, I made a circle path at one point, kind of like this. Get rid of this one. Yeah, something like that. I guess not this one. Oh shoot. Well, closed. Okay, I'm royally screwing this up. There you go.
See, I know Tiffany's alive because she's posting on her Snapchat story.
There you go. So there's a nice, good circle path. Let's call it path circle.
That's almost a circle.
It's like a more of an oval.
Needed
But...
more points, but I guess not.
What's up, kid?
I was thinking you needed more points, but I guess not.
Yeah,
Not
it's good enough.
over here.
Alright.
Okay,
Scripts.
stream quality just
Scripts are your primary bulk of the.
480. Okay.
What's up, Tina? I'm sorry. The volume for some reason is just not
stream
up high.
quality dropped.
Raise
for
it
some
then.
reason.
Right click on it.
No, the volume from the speaker.
Oh, I have it low because the music quality from there is loud.
Well, we
You
can.
can change it. Beggars can stream.
Yeah,
You'd also just be wearing headphones. I would get it.
true. But what else?
I mean, but then you couldn't hear me that well. Well, actually, you probably could because the mic would be just the same amount of distance. In fact, why don't you go ahead and look?
Eh. But then you couldn't hear people.
Oh, you know what? That's true. I want to be able to hear you guys.
Just get a headphone splitter. Plug in two sets of
I don't have an extra headset of headphones.
Anyways. Let's see, people have been chatting. You know what they have.
Figure out one day.
So scripts are your primary thing, or one of your primary things, because these are functions. You know, you can. These are actual code snippets. You can write things in them. Let's see, description, or is it description? Useless script. Yeah, I think it's like param. They changed this for Gamemaker Studio too. Something like param. Nothing. Anyways, let's. I don't ever put a prefix for these scripts, just because, whatever, it's just easier to access. Let's rename. Sometimes I'll do like any for like map editor, stuff like that, but like, eh. Let's see. So we call this useless script. So we should be able to call it from here now. Useless script. I don't remember. Oh, gee. Is it param? Well, anyways, there's some way to add a description, and I just forget what it is. Be like, oh yeah, that is it. Useless script and then nothing. So what's nice about this here, I'm not sure too much about this param, but writing the description lets you see it down here when you're writing the code. Like, here's what you're inputting. Nothing. Yeah. Just a nice way to code stuff, just to have little scripts to make things easier. We'll come back to that later. I'm not even gonna touch shaders. I don't even know shaders. Like,
Shaders.
shaders are nice. I just don't know how to use them. Fonts are pretty self-explanatory, and we actually for Project Amaranth don't use Gamemaker's fonts. We import our own, so this isn't something we use either. Timelines, let's see how they're different. They look about the same. Timelines are pretty self-explanatory too. Something happens, a couple frames later, whatever, this happens. We don't really use timelines for the most part either. Just delete that. Alright, so now for the juice. The meat. The main things. You have your objects, OBJs. These are your primary bulk of the game, because this is what runs code. Yeah. Objects, they respond to events, they run code, they do a bunch of things. It's pretty much the bulk of your entire game is objects. So for instance, with our object, we could assign it a sprite. I'm not going to do that for now. Parents, we'll talk about this stuff later. But events. So for instance, when the object's created, this code will execute. So I could call useless script, run it, and input hello into its parameter, whatever. We'll talk about this kind of stuff later, but events though. So you got your create, you have your step event. Step is basically frame. Whenever you hear step in Gamemaker,
it's giving you an error because the script takes no parameters.
Okay, let's see. Test equals argument 0. There you go. Freaking update. Thank you.
Hover over the.
Anyways, so when you hear step, think frames.
There it is.
So our game project Amaranth runs at 60 steps per second, for instance. And then you can have like your begin step, end step. That just means it runs before or after the step event. Cleanup, I actually did, that's a new event. I've never seen what cleanup does. Destroys, your object gets destroyed. Here's the code that runs. Alarms, those are nice. You can set alarm and then one of these events will trigger depending on your alarm. Draw events, pretty important. Draw events are basically the step event, but only for draw code. You only want to do like draw set color, see blue, draw rectangle. Stuff like that. Processing, all processing code should go in the step unless it kind of needs to be in the draw for like for loops and stuff. But like the main chunk of your processing needs to be in step. And kind of vice versa. You don't want draw code to be in your step event. It just doesn't work well.
Okay, why is that?
Just the way Gamemaker handles the code. The draw event is just way more efficient for drawing things, whereas the step is way more efficient for calculating things.
Okay.
There are a lot of key
Calculating
press.
things in this case, meaning like moving the object.
Yeah, moving the object would be a step event thing. Like, so key press right, move object, draw the object. There is a lot of like mouse key press events and whatever. We don't really use those because you can just be like, if keyboard check, for instance. I mean, there's no point, for the most part, for creating events like that, other than maybe organization, but like, gesture, that's new. I guess that's for like tablets and stuff. Tap, double tap, that's pretty cool. And we don't really use collisions either. Other though, you got your
Port
outside
Amaranth to
rooms, your
mobile.
views, game start. What's up?
Port Amaranth, the mobile.
Yeah, maybe eventually.
Stretch goals.
Asynchronous we don't use too much, but we might eventually for some stuff. Not really though, like networking. Like if we ever get our own networking system, that's probably what we'll be using. But yeah, so these are your main events here that you're going to be dealing with when programming. And then occasionally like the other ones, but like, yeah. We primarily
This all
don't...
makes a lot more sense.
Does it? That's good. if you have something, just kind of as a note, like if you want to set your sprite here, you can do that. But be warned, the draw event, anything in it replaces this. So normally, if you have this, it'll draw this on the sprite or on the object. But the draw event overrides that, and if you do want to draw it, you can draw self. But again, like, I don't normally do that. Visible just makes it to where the object runs, or like, is shown up, shows. It'll still run draw event stuff, but if you untick this, that'll make this not show up. Solid, it's primarily for moving around. I pretty much never select that. Persistence. Persistence is important. So if you switch rooms, it deconstructs all the objects and reconstructs the new ones for the room. If you have it to persistent, it doesn't deconstruct. It stays and continues into the next room. Make sense? Make sense, Tina? Ken?
What?
Wow, shows you were listening.
No, like you cut out.
Oh, I did?
You've actually been cutting out a little bit.
Oh, that's not good.
Like how so?
Why didn't you mention this earlier?
Because I've been able to basically understand you up until this point.
I guess it's just cutting out on Discord.
Is it like sensitivity?
I think it's the Discord, because I mean, when I turn on the stream,
okay, let's not have it that way. There you go. That should be fine.
There we go. Well, I changed the sensitivity.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
Microphone.
Hopefully.
Is this the right microphone?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Mind you, it's been fine on the stream, so you're
okay. That's good to know.
Otherwise, everything is making sense.
Awesome. But yeah, so I was talking about persistence. Do you understand persistence?
Persistence in drawing?
Persistence in objects.
Instances of the object will persist between rooms. Yes, okay.
Yeah. That just means they don't deconstruct when the room deloads, unloads.
Oh, okay.
That just means when you load a new room, this object will still be there.
Yes.
Yeah. And we never use physics, so don't worry about that stuff. This is actually a new thing, variable definition. I've never had that before. I'll try to explore what that is later. Parenting, though, is pretty important. So, like, if I had, for instance, a player or, like, an enemy, the parent would be, like, a creature or living things, you know? Basically, you can just inherent code. So, like, if this was a parent of something, you could do event inherited. Boom. So now the draw event, it'll run the parent's draw event, and then it'll run this code. If it's, for instance, like a key press event that isn't already listed, it'll automatically inherit. So you don't really need to do that for every event. Just as, like, if you have a create, it'll replace the original create. Make sense? Make sense?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright.
Code inheritance. Very important. You don't have to rewrite the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, right.
And final thing we have is rooms. I'm not too familiar with the new way rooms work, because they got layers and all this. But for the most part, like, let's see, we have an instance layer and a background layer. So for instance layer, we can place down something. Let's pull in our object player. There he is. Oh.
Hey.
Smiley face. Oh yeah, and here he is. Right there. But yeah. There we go. There's a lot more to explain with rooms, but for the most part, like, there you go. That's the basic gist of rooms.
And in all honesty, you probably won't be messing with it too much.
Yeah. The very first room in the list of rooms, which we only have one at the moment, that's the room that you start in. So order does matter a little bit here. Let's see if I can run this. Just to test it out. Should be able to run it. I guess while it's compiling. These top things here are what's used to run it. This middle one's just the normal running. This one's for compile or debugging, so it opens up a little debug menu. Did it not compile? Compile areas. Did it just not run? Oh, it is running. It's minimized. Oh, there we go. There's our blue square. All right,
oh boy.
and this is our stop. Okay, this one's kind of important for big projects. Sometimes GameMaker is dumb, and you need to clean it. So, like, if something just is totally abnormal that doesn't seem like it's possible to be happening, click this button, and that'll wipe out the previously compiled data, and it'll recompile everything. So it's just nice for fixing things. It doesn't happen too often, but there's like rare occasions where I'll be like pulling my hair out because I like have no idea why something is happening, and I just needed to clean it. Alright, let's go over some basic coding. Yeah. So we already have our room and we already have our object in it. Let's just go over some of the basics of just coding. Obviously we have our variables. So if I said, what should we call it? Health. How about health? Actually, that's a predefined one. HP? We'll do that. So this is, if it's purple like this, or I guess you might be using a different skin. This is just a regular variable. I'm going to set it to 100. Regular variables, or just any variables, are very dynamic. I can change HP to be a string test. I can make it be a boolean. So for those non-programmers, this is what's called an integer, or I guess in this case it can be a double. Either way. Doubles means it has decimals. Or floats.
Double precision floating point number.
Yeah. But in general, ints, doubles, floats, they're all the same thing in GameMaker. They're all just number. Or, well, I think what they call it a real value. And technically...
A real value?
Yeah, real.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, this is also a real value. False. In GameMaker, it's represented by 0, where true is represented by 1.
Okay.
And if you do a test for true or false, anything over 1 is true, and anything under 1 is false, I believe. And then this is a string, so anything encapsulated by those, and I believe this works too. No, it doesn't. I'm a liar.
Oh no.
So yeah, it has to be close. There's no characters, it's just strings. Strings are basically an array of characters being English letters, or just letters in general. Characters, something that it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, for a new programmer, like, how would I explain that? Like, it's words.
How do you explain what?
Do you understand what a string is?
Yeah, it's like a...
Explain what a string is?
Yeah.
It's a essentially just a list, a linked list of characters, where characters are represented by singular numbers
Not
in
necessarily,
ASCII or in Unicode.
Yeah.
not necessarily an array of letters, but rather just...
It's a collection of some sort of numbers that represent individual letters.
It works. That's as much as they need to know.
Yep.
So, anyways, GameMaker's nice in that this isn't a problem. I can change a variable from a real to a string and vice versa. You can also assign it to be an object. So I could say object, what's our new player? I can assign it to be a script. Was it useless script. Boom. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with variables in Gamemaker. Sprite player. Sprite smile. So I mean, I could use it as a player object for a while, and then just change it to be a sprite. It's kind of nice, but I recommend keeping variables consistent because as a programmer, that can be confusing.
Yeah.
There's really no reason to have one variable change like that. I mean, I guess technically
Aaron, I
you
have a
can
question.
argue for saving memory, but whatevs.
Tino has a question.
Tino, I see your hands raised. What's your question?
Well, first I have a statement. It looks to me that I have Gamemaker Studio 2.
That's
I
good.
installed it, and there are no hiccups. It's not saying you need to buy the license for this.
Yeah, just you gotta input your login for Gamemaker.
I logged in using the same login.
Okay.
I'm just wondering how I open up the current
Project?
Amaranth build.
Just go into the folder and click the project file or whatever. It's a pretty obvious file.
GMX? Because it's saying it wants me to open up a YPP or a YYP.
Yeah,
not
YYP.
GMX.
You're not in master then if it's not Gamemaker Studio 2 code. You need to pull.
I have no idea where that is.
You cracking?
Open your you open your git kraken and pull.
And what?
Open git kraken and pull. Sounds like you have the old Gamemaker.
No,
Sounds like you have
Sounds already
Gamemaker
up to
1.4
date.
project.
Oh. Let's see.
Derp.
There we go. I had it pointing to a different remote. Okay, there it goes. Now let's see.
Anyways, variables. That's pretty much the extent of that. There are a few different types of variables. Just this HP here being just like an object variable, meaning object player can utilize it in any event, but like object wall couldn't. If you want other objects to use it, you would use global dot HP, or how about fun huzzah?
Oh, nope. I'm on the trial version.
Right,
That's
okay.
my-
Yeah, so a global variable just means it can be used anywhere. And then the last is you have vars. So
Yeah,
var.
variable scope is really important.
Yeah. Vars are kind of interesting. Vars are your script or your local variable. So once this script hits the end, which is right here, it deconstructs. So you can't use it anywhere but right here. And this is pretty useful for scripts and stuff, like making calculations. Sometimes you don't want variables getting out of the script and back into the object. So yeah. So anyways, if I had wanted to use some of these, I'd only be able to use the, let's say if I did HP equals 50 now, cool, and then this would just be A equals 5. A wouldn't work, just because A was a local of here, and then actually doing this here is defining it as an object variable now. Anyways, that's the basics of what a variable is. Anything you want to add, Tino? Ken?
No, just want to stress how important variable scope is, because a lot of errors that I see are just references to things that don't exist in the compiler's eyes. Like, you'll write some code in a function, and then outside of the function you reference one of the variables that you created just for that function, and it won't work because it doesn't exist anymore. So just watch your scope. Watch where you're putting things.
Yeah. Alright, There is actually one other type of variable, and that's a globally defined variable. Or, I guess it's more like an object variable. So, like, x and y, I can't use that as a variable. Those are what's used for the actual position inside the room. We can use, let's see, what are there other variables? Depth. Depth being the draw order of an object, where higher numbers mean farther in the background. Stuff like that. It's just default variables. H speed is another one. H speed, Y speed, or no, D speed, speed, direction. Oh, what are some other ones? You know what I mean. What's kind of nice about these,
I can't do a face reveal right now.
gotta save it for your 100,000 subscriber video. Yeah, so what's nice about Gamemaker Studio in general is you can middle click stuff. Boom. Hey, here's all the information on H speed, for instance. Huzzah. It's really helpful for learning new things.
Oh, that's nice. It has documentation in program.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a cracker now.
Important information.
But yeah,
Muy important.
so let's say if I did my useless script here, I can middle click that, and here it is. Is the music too loud, or is it like chill?
It's chill. I checked this out.
I
Okay.
can't hear the music.
Yeah, I have the stream muted. Well.
All right. Let's call our useless script. Okay, what's next on the agenda? Oh, I did not mean to do that. All right. Let's go over basic math functions. So increase the x value. X plus 100 or 200 plus 300. Easy peasy. Basically normal math. You know, nothing different here. Multiply, divide, basic stuff. There are a few math functions to note that are pretty common that I use, like square root. You have your x equals square, 200. You have your sine, cosine, degree to rad. So 100 degrees now goes to radians. Trigonometry in Gamemaker is in radians. Here's a whole bunch of them. Let's just go through them real quick. Let's see. Random functions. Randomization is something to talk about. If you run Gamemaker, it'll always use the same random seed. And just so you know, for new people, there's no such thing as random in coding. It's as long as you have the same seed, everything will be exactly the same. And that's the same thing with Gamemaker. In order to randomize it, you would just put randomize at the beginning of your... Ooh. I can't zoom in. Oh, can I? No. That's just scrolling. Okay. Yeah, so randomize will just shuffle the seed. You can actually pull and get the seed here. But anyways, you got your random number and your irandom. Just irandom being integer random. Trigonometry equations. Sine, cosine, tangent are the most used. And then you have your degree to rad and rad to degree. Yeah, they got a lot of trig support. These are pretty useful. Rounding, floor. Floor meaning it'll round to the low, like if it's a decimal, 3.5, it'll round down to 3. Where's ceiling? Ceiling, right here, that'll round up to 4 if it's 3.5. Absolute value, I don't know what this is, fact.
Important note for floor and ceiling, it'll round down and up whether or not it's positive or negative.
Yeah. So negative
So if you
3.5, ceiling is 3.
Two,
Or negative 3.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it makes sense.
But it makes sense because it's higher and Then you got sign that just pulls if it's negative, positive, or 0. Max is pretty useful. So if you have 2 or more numbers, you can be like, which one's the highest? Pull that number. Same thing with minimum. Clamp's kind of nice. It's the same thing as min and max, but combined.
What?
So, for instance, if I want to clamp a number between 0 and 1, I would put 0, whatever variable, and 1. And then it'll be like... Yeah, so variable, min, and max. So I could have a number like a sine wave or something, but sometimes go over 1, and it'll keep it at 1. So like it's the max. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oops. So let's see. What other ones we got? Rounding, that's pretty much it. Median, mean, that's your same as statistics. Yeah, there's some other ones. Logs, power, exponents. Yeah. Pretty much just math functions. That's stuff you can look through and experiment with on your own time.
Okay.
Gamemaker does support plus equals. Come on. So this just is the same thing as saying x equals x plus 100. Plus equals, so basically it's going to add 100 to x. And I believe times equals works as well.
Yeah,
Minus
most
equals.
standard operators work with.
Yeah, should all work. Yeah. You can also do x plus plus, x minus minus. Basically that means it'll add 1 or subtract 1 to that variable. Out of curiosity, is this a thing? No.
That does work. That just squares the number, or should.
Not in GameMaker.
Try caret instead of star.
Nope.
Oh, that's annoying.
You should be able to do caret too.
It's usually one of the two. Yeah, that should.
That doesn't. Oh. Yeah. Oh equals x caret 2.
What is the rest for?
There you go.
Oh, that's the. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe the caret does work.
No, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Apparently.
Sometimes.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, well there you go. There's your
That's,
plus minusing functions. Yeah, let's see, what are we doing next? Conditionals, let's do it. So we can say, so we can transform pretty much anything to a boolean. So if I say x equals 100, this whole part here is going to return either true or false based on what this means.
1 or 0
Yeah.
to launch the statement.
Yeah. In GameMaker, you can use equals to mean does this equal that. But if you put it in an if statement, it doesn't really matter. It'd be like if x equals 100. It understands what you mean. So you'll see that a lot when I code. Because I'm lazy. But yeah, you can be, does it equal it? Is it greater than? Is it less than? Is it greater than or equal to? Less than or equal? Does it not equal? Basic stuff there.
we have and, or, and.
Oh yeah.
Not, yeah.
So this is a double conditional. I don't know what you call that. The and y does not
Just
equal.
multi-conditional.
Yeah. So these will be true or false, but then this entire statement will be true or false based on this. And for and, obviously, both have to be true to output a true. For or, either one could be true, and the whole thing will output true. And the only other one we really use is XOR sometimes. And that just means...
exclusive OR, so it'll only be true if one of them is true.
Yes. One of these has to be true. If both are true, then it's false.
Yep. Another pro tip is if you have one side of an OR that takes a lot less time to figure out if it's true or false than the other side, put that on the left because that gets evaluated first.
Yeah, short circuits just like anything else.
Yeah. Exclamation points also work, so if you want to do or here, and then just say, this whole thing not true, you can do that as well. So conditionals though.
Well,
Let's
that
go.
just turns it into
Yeah, logically that turns it into an and.
yeah.
Anyways, let's go
Just
through.
do what makes sense English-wise, and you should be fine.
Yeah, so just don't do that. Let's go over conditionals though. So this is an if statement, pretty self-explanatory. It'll run over to it and be like, hey, does this number equal that number? If so, go inside these brackets. In Gamemaker, you can just write some code afterward. Call my useless script. And then it'll accept that, but whatever is next is not inside the if, so this part wouldn't be inside it. So that's only if you want like one thing afterwards.
Oh, so either format works? Like
Either format
use
works.
brackets or indents?
Indents do not work.
It's not indents. It's like single line if statements don't need braces.
Oh, okay.
Will
But if
not
it's a
work.
multi-line if statement, you do need braces.
Yeah, if you're only executing one line. Now, what you can do is chain a whole bunch of single line if statements together, because that only counts as one line technically.
Oh.
So if you do if x equals 100, next line is if true, and then you just do a whole bunch of if trues. That'll still execute even if you don't have brackets. As long as the last line of code in that if nest is one line of code.
I would
and
say
not-
tabbing is important. Please tab. It makes it look a lot nicer.
Yeah. It's not like Python where tabbing is part of syntax.
Correct.
But
I mean, yes, you can do
Does
stuff
make
like
it look
this, but that's just gross looking. Just do that.
Oof.
You can select multiple lines and just tab that, untab it if you shift
Yeah.
tab. So there's really no excuse not to tab.
how would you write disgusting code?
There are, and I will admit, there are a very few occasions where I'll do something like this, where there's something like a boolean or something up here, and it applies to the entire script, and so I don't want to tab the entire script. But like, very rare occasion will I ever do that. But anyways, so if x equals 100, if that's true, it'll execute stuff here. So I could write useless script, true, and then you can be like, else if y is equal to 100, use script, false, else pants equals false.
Also, what Aaron just wrote there, you could write that entirely without brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
because
single
it's
line.
single line stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's actually proper
So-
else if, like Java, not elif like Python.
But yeah, see, as soon as you want to add another line, you have to add the bracket back.
Yep.
Yep.
If statement. So if this is true, else. So if this is false, it'll look at this one. If this is true, it'll run that. If it's false, it'll run this. Good to go. Switches are kind of nice that I like to use.
Switches are great.
Yeah. So a switch
heavily
statement
with
is
those.
basically a long list of if-else statements. So let's see, what can we condition?
Just have it be numbers
Color, how about?
to explain it.
Yeah, something that I'll get because
Okay,
I've never worked.
Or color, yeah, color is
C red. So for instance, if I had some variable color previously equal shoes, C red, C green, C blue. So color, or in this case, these are color variables. C red, C green, C blue. You can use that in a draw event. Like, it could be like draw set color C blue, like that. But in this case, I'm assigning them to a variable. Choose randomizes, and so it'll pick either one of these, which is at random. So, a switch statement. So what it's going to do is it's going to read this variable, and in this case, let's say it's C green. for testing. It's gonna read and it's gonna look, hey, case. Does C red equal C green? No. So it's gonna ignore it. And then it's gonna go down to C green. They do equal, so it's gonna start running code from here. Useless script. True. Cake equals false. And then break.
Yeah,
so
usually you point that to a script or a function.
yeah. So the interesting thing about switches is that once it reads the case, it's gonna run code till it hits a break. So if I don't have break here, it's gonna go straight into blue and start making cake equal to true.
Or the end of the current block.
True. It'll run code until it hits the end of switch. So here.
Right. Speaking of which, you should probably indent your cases.
I never do that.
What?
I don't know, it just looks gross to me. It just looks gross. Because it's like, of course I'm gonna have case statements, right? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, but like...
You can indent your cases, but when I see them, I'm unindenting them.
We're gonna be in a constant feud of syntax.
Yeah, we will be.
Styling preferences.
I'm the owner, you're gonna adhere to my syntax.
No.
Next on Discovery, Indentation Wars.
Or I'm gonna find where you live.
I'm just gonna find a linting linting program for or linting
What does that even mean?
format, like a style format for GML, and just have it automatically force you to adhere.
So anyways, if it's color red, it'll run this all the way down to break. If it's green, it'll run the exact same thing. If it's blue, it's only gonna run cake. And Gamemaker does have a default. If it happens to be C orange, can I spell? It'll run to the default instead, since we haven't listed a C orange. Pretty self-explanatory once you actually understand what the switch and case breaks mean. Do you want to add anything?
Sure.
Do you want to add anything?
Not really. I guess I'll just have to play around with switches a little more. Like I said, I have practically no experience with them, so...
But you have coding experience in general, just not with switches?
Yeah, no experience with switches. Just not really used in...
Yeah,
Because
they
I
don't
only have
exist
experience with
in
Java and
Python.
Python, so...
Yeah. Alright. 2 more things, or actually 3 more. While loops. While x is less than 100, x plus plus. So, while loops, they'll check this and run the code after. Basically, it'll keep running this, or keep checking this until it's false. So if I set...
While loops are if statements that don't stop doing what they're doing until it evaluates to false.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can effectively go on forever, but they shouldn't.
As long as you code it well.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've done my fair share of while true.
You most likely won't do a while
Okay.
true in Gamemaker, because then you'll stop the code from running.
Oh, really?
Well, for that object,
Maybe
yeah.
while true
You'll create an
and
infinite
then
loop.
Put in a break. I mean, I always do.
Oh, yeah, you can do breaks, yeah.
It's just hard to figure out what my what I want my case to be.
So basically, sets the position in the room to 50, and while it's less than 100, it'll increase it by 1, and run my useless script. So it'll probably run 100 times, or 50 times, I mean.
49.
49. 50.
Number 15.
Actually, it should run 50 times with that.
There you go.
It should run 50 times like that. So it'll run 50, 51, 52, 53, all the way to 99. So it'll run 50 times. If I started at 51, then it'd only do 49.
Alright.
Anyways.
You are correct.
So, for loops now. Var I equals 0. I is less than 100. I is less.
While loops, but cool.
For loops are nice.
Also Java style.
Yeah. In fact, I can make this an X here, but I'm not. I'm just gonna keep it an I. For loops, I like to use I or a single variable or a single letter variable. You can make it multi-lettered, but like
Something that makes sense.
I is like the general standard for loops.
So for loops have 3 little things in their parentheses. First one is creating an iterating variable.
That's the same as this up here.
Yep. Second one is your condition that you want to check for
And that's
each
this.
thing, so like a while loop.
Yep.
And your third one is a condition that you want to have run at the end of every single loop.
Yep. Which in our
You have
case
your
would have been this.
initialization,
Yeah.
your check, and your iteration.
Yep.
So you could set like var horse equals -1,000 and while horse still less than 100, horse plus 8.5, and that would be a totally valid
Yeah.
for loop.
So basically, these two are gonna run exactly the same. There is another type of while that I don't use too often, and that's the
Well,
do whiles. And it's actually in Gamemaker, it's do and tells. For some reason.
doing so.
Basically, it's the same thing as a while loop, but it's gonna run this at least once, and then it's gonna check. And it would actually be like that. Hey, what's up?
Tomorrow's Mother's Day, so I have to go get something.
Can you get me something too?
What the?
Hold on one second.
Yeah, quick reminder to everyone.
Yeah. Like, can you get a snack? I'll pay for it. Like,
Shoot, okay.
goldfish or maybe some candy.
Sure, I'll see what I can do. But probably not, since you're going to Pier 1 nowadays. So
Pier 1?
what's that? If you're on imports, it's like a antique shop.
Maybe Stop by Sonic can get it.
I'll ask, but probably not.
Can you Stop by Sonic?
I'll have to bring it.
Stop by Sonic, number 9. It's big.
I'll
Fries.
bring it. I'll ask my dad.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll actually get my phone.
Sorry for that.
I can't answer the room.
Here, I'll get you your phone since you're screenshot.
Can you close my book too? And the laptop. Thank you.
Yeah. Alright, I'm back, y'all.
And close the door.
What's up? Okay, where are we at? Do and tells. Do you guys understand do and tells? Did I explain it good enough?
Yeah, no, that's basically all you can say. It's just a while loop that does its thing once and then is normal.
The last thing that's kind of unique, I guess, with Gamemaker, it might not be unique, I haven't experimented all programming languages, but we have what's called the width. So width is used for pretty much just objects. I think it is just objects. So I could say object player. So what this is going to do is it's going to run as if it's the object player. Or I guess, let's create a new object, just for example. Object, some object. And we'll do while, or with some object. Alright. So, if you remember, like, this is an object variable. Once I'm inside a with, I can't use that. I would have to do other.color equals. Because now other is referring to the object here that's calling the with. So basically, yeah, this is acting like I'm inside that object and running code within it. So I could be like test equals 10, but that's a local variable now to object. Or not local, but an object variable.
Okay.
I could also do stuff like object some object dot test equals 10. That's another way to call an object variable. Widths are just nice to not use this a bunch. Yeah. Does that make sense? I guess.
Yes.
Let's make an example real quick. This width here, this is going to apply to every instance of some object. But if I only wanted a particular one, I could do like object equals instance create depth. Let's see, depth has, what do we got? We've got x, y, depth, and object. So we can say 0, 0, depth 0, object, some object. So instance create depth. So this function creates an instance and places it in the room with a certain depth. And then it returns an ID for that object. So setting object to it, that's gonna point towards that object we just created. And so now doing a width with object will only apply to that specific object. Oops. So object test equals 10, and I believe doing a width with it would be every object. I don't know about doing dot. I don't think you can actually do that. I don't know. I've never tested this. If you can just do dot test equals 10. I mean, I guess it wouldn't really complain. Let's run it and find out. Experimentation on the fly. I guess it works, because I didn't get near. Oh. Okay, we're good. Yeah. Yeah, it works. So I'm guessing this will apply to every single object. I can't confirm. But yeah, does that make sense what a width is, or do y'all have any questions?
That makes sense.
Made sense for the most part?
Yeah, what's like a common usage you have for it? Because in my mind, I feel like you should just have options for changing certain values in another object.
So let's say some object is a bullet, and I've just created a bullet.
Okay.
So with my bullet, or I could even say with instance create, bullet's my object, bullet fire, direction equals 40 degrees, and speed equals 20. So now I've just directly modified where the bullet's heading. Whereas in the create,
Okay.
it might just have some default
No, that makes
values.
sense. I just feel like personally, I feel like you should have it so you just have a function called
So that's a function call?
whatever that object is. Like whatever that object is dot fire, and then your parameters are direction and speed. Instead of using a width, which would directly give access to the code.
I think it's really helpful. Then yeah, the alternative would have been object equals this. Oops. Object dot direction, object dot speed. There's the alternative without a width. I like the width though.
Okay.
Scripts, tutorials. There are a lot of built-in functions we need to go over. And I won't go over all of them right now, just like some of the basic ones. So let's do collisions. Remember the masks I was talking about earlier with sprites? This comes directly into play with that. So you collision circles, collision ellipses. Just gonna pop up the collision checking. Alright. These. Yeah, we'll go over those later. These is what I wanted to look at. So you have your circles, ellipses, lines, points, and rectangles. So basically this is gonna map out an area and check if there's a collision between that check and the object in question. Let's share this real quick. Alright, so for instance, I could do x plus 10, y. This is a circle, let's do a line. So first point, second point, and I'm looking down at the bottom there to see what I'm inputting. Object, object, some object. Precision. Precision's important. If you do false, this will check pixel per pixel, and whereas true will check like a rectangle or the collision mask. In fact, I can kind of show you exactly what I mean by that. Yeah, right here.
Cut out a little bit in the middle there.
Okay, I'm just talking about precisions. So like, this is a non-precise object, and this is a precise object. Or like collision checks, I guess. So for instance...
Non-precise is blue, right?
Yeah, so it's just going to be a rectangle around the object. And obviously, this is a collision right here, even though it's like not touching. Whereas this is not a collision because it's precise. For like a wall collision that's a 32 by 32 square, you don't really need precision, so you wouldn't use that. But like for a complex hitbox, you would. And you can actually do with collision line. Precision, false, false, and that'll whatever, because collision line will return the first object it hits, but it can also be a true or false. So yeah, return. What's the return value? It doesn't show a return value. That's weird. Oh, there it is. Returns instance ID or none. But yeah, so you can be like, if there's a collision, so you can be like if collision line, or you can be like with collision line. You can store it inside an object ID. Yeah, kind of nice stuff. Some of the other collisions I kind of went over or skipped over were these simple ones. For instance, I like to use position free or meeting. These are pretty simple ones. Basically, it'll move your current object over to a new position and see if it checks, and then it'll move it back. So these are more like simplified collisions. So for instance, this one would move over here, check, and then move back. Precision works the same way too with this. Boop. So that's collisions. Any questions on collisions? Hello?
Huh?
I said, do you guys have any questions on collisions?
Nope, makes sense. Sorry, you just cut out again.
Yeah. I guess, sorry, what are the first four parameters again? Like
for this specific one, it's collision line. So it needs an X and Y position, and, or like 2 points basically. So it's point 1 here and point 2.
It's a
yeah.
Yeah, and so for instance, this is 10 pixels to the right of the object, same height, 50 pixels to the right of the object, same height. Same height.
Okay.
So it's just going to be like a horizontal line kind of to the right of the object.
Is this just a segment, or is this an entire line?
It's an entire line.
Okay.
So I could make like a diagonal line, like plus 40 here.
Is there any way to just make it a singular segment, or
a segment? What do you mean?
Instead of just a line that goes off into infinity.
It doesn't go off into infinity. It's a segment, yeah.
Oh, okay.
As I said, this is point 1, this is point 2. So that's the start and end point. Okay. You can do other things like collision, rectangle. Works exactly the same, except for instead of this is like top left corner, that's bottom right corner, for instance.
Yeah.
Or not really even that. Like you can put them anywhere, and it'll make a rectangle between those 2 points.
Huh. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. Circle.
Okay.
Creates a point and then has a radius. Point. Just 1 point. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
What other stuff we got? Drawing functions are nice. Draw set color. See red. Draw set alpha. Alpha in Gamemaker Studio means transparency. 0 being invisible, 1 being completely visible. It's gonna be like 0.5. Draw set rectangle. Or just draw a rectangle. 0, 100, 100. Outline false. Draw sprite. Sprite. What do we call it? We're gonna make the subimage the kind of frowny one. Subimage starts at 0, being the first frame. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Since our sprite smile has 4 frames. Or no, get rid of this one. 0, 1, 2, 3. If you wanted to just play an animation, you could do something like a variable here. Be like anim. How about anim equals 0 or plus equals plus what's that about? And then you would have it like set somewhere else. Draw sprite, self-explanatory, I guess, in some sense. You're just basically drawing the sprite with the sub-image at a particular point.
Okay.
And you got a bunch of other ones too, though, like extent, which lets you put more parameters, x scale, y scale, rotation. There's a lot to play around with as far as drawing goes.
Okay, so anim is a subsprite, you said?
Anim is just a variable.
Like
Let's just say anim somewhere 0.
Uh-huh.
Let's just pretend this was like in the create, and this was like in the draw event.
Yeah.
So every frame it would go update the sub frame. Where, for instance, this is subframe 0, subframe 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
There's a bunch of draw functions. I'm not going to go over all of them though. Let's see. Drawing sprites, there's a whole bunch of draw sprite functions. I don't even know what this is, that's new. Spine, you can import spine, drawing tiles. Let's see. Draw enable, texture surfaces. There's one other thing, as far as events go, that I did forget to talk about, which is in the draw event, you have a bunch of different types. I don't know what pre and post are, but that might have to do with shaders. But you got your draw and draw GUI. GUI being over everything, and it doesn't affect like the room. So like if I'm in a different spot in the room, I could be at like 600, 300 or something inside the room. The draw GUI will always be 0, 0 on the top left. Anyways, what else can we talk about? I think that just might be it for now, and we'll kind of create a sample project, and that'll be it for the stream.
Okay.
Texture, yeah, we'll go over some of this.
What you went over and get are probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll get Gamemaker downloaded somehow.
I'm gonna create a sample project.
Yeah.
Just a little character shooting and moving around.
Yeah.
It's a good little learning experience. Feel free to follow along at home. Let's read it. Huh? How do you freaking reading the room? This is just all new to me. Okay, I guess you would rename the room here. So I'm gonna call it room initialize. So this is the first room. I guess that'll be our player object there. Let's give it some variables. Let's set its HP to be 100. I guess for this example, or how about ammo? 10. Max ammo equals ammo. Reload time equals. How about 60 frames? Timer. don't know. 0. Yeah, that's what we'll do for now.
All right.
So we need some kind of script that creates a bullet. Well, first we need a bullet. Let's create a bullet. So sprite, let's pull in a new sprite. Create a sprite. Oops. This, by the way, is what's called the center. So if I draw a sprite at 0, 0, this is the actual 0, 0 where it places it. So everything else is like relative to that spot. It's kind of nice. Important stuff. In fact, I'm gonna center this one for the bullet. Edit image. Let's make the bullet. Artistic. Beautiful. Good enough. Let's make it a little lighter tone and then fill it here. I think let's fill bucket. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Sprite 2. We'll call it Sprite Bullet. It's actually a really big bullet. We'll center it there. Yeah. Actually, let's center it up here. Yeah. Just a note, 0 degrees is right. So that's why I have it facing this direction. So when I rotate it to 90 degrees, it'll look straight up, for instance.
Yeah.
Let's create a player. So it says sprite smile, we'll do sprite player. Let's give him less animation here. Can I make this bigger somehow? I'm not used to the Gamemaker Studio 2 sprite editor. Let's see. Ah, here we go.
Just to note that
Resize.
player is spelled wrong if you have to call it later.
Oh, really?
Scale. Let's do 200. Alright. You know what? I'm keeping that smiley face.
Alrighty then.
Need to rotate it first though. Where's like a rotate button? Here we go. No? Oh jeez. What did I do? Ah, okay. Do I confirm? Oh, that's cool. Whoa, that's totally new. It's way more advanced than it was before. Oops. Keep like, whatever. There we go. Now we need to rotate it. Come on. What? Okay, paste. What? I'm so confused!
Oh no.
Why is this not working? Okay, this is good. Keep it. You're good. Enter. Okay. Boom. That was totally not worth the amount of time I spent on it. How do you not make it like...
Ah.
Oh, you can make layers now!
What's-
Hell yeah! That's totally not a thing that existed before.
What, this editor?
Yeah. Used to be able to make it 2-color. I don't know why you can't do that anymore though. Good enough. Whatever. I'm not an artist, and that's what it's just gonna be for now. I've spent enough time drawing this thing for it to be worth my actual time.
Something simple.
Yeah, just keeping it simple. So draw. I'm gonna make sure it draws itself. Yeah. And actually, no, we can't do that because we need draw sprite extent, and I'm gonna have it look towards the mouse. So sprite player subimage 0 x y. Did we set the center? No, we didn't. X y. X scale is 1. Y scale is 1. Okay, rotation. I'm going to use a function called point direction. And we're going to use, this takes in 2 parameters, so I'm going to use x and y as one, and then mouse x, mouse y as the other. So that'll create a rotation value in degrees for between like these 2 points. Yeah. For color, I'm going to do -1, alpha 0. Whenever you do -1 for color, that just means make it the same color, don't change the color. Alright, so that should be good. Let's just test that for now. I believe he's already in our room, right? Yeah, it's just chilling in there. Oh, there's nothing in our room. Well, that was weird. Player is fine. Oh, it's probably because I set his X to some dumb value or somewhere. Destroy step event. No? What's going on? I'm not actually sure what's going on there. I'm just gonna get rid of this background layer. Maybe that's has something to do with it. No? Weird. Oh, I'm dumb. I set the alpha to 0. Alpha, again, being transparency.
Yeah.
There we go. Beautiful. So now I'm gonna create a script for firing the bullet. So we're gonna rename this to, please rename to fire bullet. Fire bullet's gonna have a couple of functions: speed, direction. With instance, create depth. It's going to create it on the player for whatever's firing it. Let's see. Depth object. It's going to be a depth of 0, or how about 1? The object will be object bullet. We don't have an object bullet. There we go. Object bullet. Okay. Bullet. There we go. So should create that, and then with it, we're gonna set the speed to be argument 0, and the direction to be argument 1. Just for clarification, arguments are what the user is inputting to the script. So speed is argument 0, and direction is argument 1. You can actually, there's 2 types of ways you can mess with this. You can do the normal arguments, or you can do argument and then like an array at 0. The only difference is these are not compatible. But this one you can use, for instance, argument length or length. Argument count, okay. Argument count. And so this could be helpful if you have a function with an optional amount of parameters, then you would use these instead. But I'm requiring you to put speed directions, so I'm gonna make it 0 and 1. Okay, so let's look at the object bullet code real quick. It doesn't really need much. I'm gonna give it some draw code there. Draw code. Let's draw sprite. Yeah, sprite subimage. So sprite bullet. Do you not? Is that not what it's called? Bullet. Sprite bullet. Subimage 0. And actually, we need to do draw sprite extent. What are the parameters? Let's bring that up there. X, Y, X scale 1, Y scale 0. Okay, so rotation in this case will be direction. Direction being a default, or a kind of like speed or position. It just gives the current direction that it's traveling. So that's the direction we want it to be rotated.
Hey, Tiffany, what's up?
Oh, hey, Tiffany.
Just got home. I haven't left yet.
Huh?
What?
I have to like leave again in like 30 minutes.
You have to leave?
Oh god.
But I was like, I might as well stop by.
See ya.
Hello.
Alright, so in this step event, let's make it to where it's if mouse check, button pressed, MB left. We'll do fire bullet. Nothing. Why does it say nothing? Parameter. Just get rid of that parameter. Parameter, speed, parameter, direction. Direction.
Is there a
Speed.
live option?
So we'll fire it in a speed of 10 pixels and a direction of. This is another one where we want to get point direction X, Y, so the player's X and Y to the mouse's X and Y.
Oh, Tiffany, do you not have the live stream pulled up?
Huh?
YouTube, yeah, but
What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? Hello? Can you
Yeah,
guys
it
hear
should
me?
be on
Testing?
live.
oh,
Yes, hello.
Wait, JK, I was clicking the wrong.
What's up?
wrong
What are y'all doing?
I
know
think
what they're
Chris
doing.
was pulling up the stream.
Oh. Anyways,
Yeah.
this should work. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a test. Pew!
Okay.
Well, something's. Oh, it's because of the background. I need to create a background. Let's get that background layer back in. Create new background layer. There we go.
Oh god, this already looks scary.
It works.
Wow, nice.
What else can we do? Let's make some movement. If key.
This is a release build of Amaranth right now.
Huh?
The blue smiley face shooting
Yeah,
lightning.
Game of the year. All years.
Yeah, again.
Our 1010 graphics, am I right?
Graphic
If you're doing a
design,
keyboard check, you can do Word A to get what the actual value of A is on a keyboard. So I'm gonna do. How about A is left? We'll
makes
do.
sense.
We're doing a QWERTY or an WASDF. Just a note, X is pretty standard. X is left for negative. X is right for positive. But for up and down in most programming languages, Y negative is upwards and Y positive is downwards.
Yeah,
Oh.
most programming, the origin is the top left.
Top left.
So 0, 0 is the top left corner, and then N is the bottom right corner.
Okay, that'll take some getting used to, but
Yeah. So with this code, pretty simple. really do much, but hey, you should be able to move around now. Very slowly. Let's increase that speed.
I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. Like, left is decrementing through the list, right is incrementing, and then down is going further down in the list of things. And,
I guess, yeah.
yeah. It's like line numbers, and like, if you just think about it as like all text, it makes sense. Because line 0 space 0 is the top left of a text document, so.
Bottom text.
Ooh. Look at those kiting skills.
Beautiful.
Curving bullets. What the hell is this? Wanted?
He's not curving bullets.
I like how I can travel faster than them at the moment.
What are you talking about?
Let's increase that speed for them to be like 50.
Why are you faster than the bullets?
Faster than a speeding bullet! Pew!
It's like the Flash. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Look how the center of the circle isn't quite on center, so when you look around, it just sort of
Yeah,
nudges a little
There you
bit.
go.
just set an arbitrary center, so it's like whatever. I mean, it's literally just for hey, this is how this works. So that's fine.
New Overwatch hero.
Blue smiley face.
Blue smiley face that moves lightly.
Okay.
The true menace.
Let's add a wall just real quick to spice things up.
Can you import pictures for sprites? Or
Yeah.
you have to draw them.
Yeah, you can do an import here.
You can import pictures.
Okay.
Very small pictures, but pictures nonetheless. Well, actually, no.
Sprite wall.
Aaron, just use your
No.
wall tile set.
I can't really, just because it would be the entire sprite. I guess I could section off
I mean,
something.
You made it a tile set.
But whatever. I'm just making it this like gross looking flat thing now. Let's put it in the room though. Yeet. It's probably some better way to like do this. Whatever.
Oh, that's interesting.
Number 1! Anyways.
It's like, yeah, just saying. Artistic
You can actually
design
just
is not
increase the
my
size.
passion.
Here, let's actually do that. Because in Project Amaranth, this is how we do it.
Hell
We'll
yeah.
just take like this object and just like scale it. I guess I could...
Hey.
That reduces just the number of objects that exist.
Yes, and you know modify.
Yeah, so now it's 1 object, 2 objects, 3 objects. It's not... Okay. Alright, so now we need to check for the bullet hitting the wall. Step. We'll put that in step. So if collision... Or how about place meeting? So place meeting being, does this object collide with a different object? Like its collision box. Does this object's collision box collide with another object's collision box? Object wall. If so, instance destroy. That's the way we destroy things. Or delete them. Once you run that, that will run the destroy event, but we don't really need one for this case. Delete event. Should work. Let's test it out. Yep. Easy peasy.
That's,
Hey.
yeah. There we go.
Makes sense, eh?
Yeah.
Object wall doesn't need any code. Let's make the player not run into the wall. So how about if you press right and there's not a place meeting for x plus b, y object wall. So it's going to check 10 pixels to the right because the speed is 10. If there is a collision, it won't move. And I guess this is x minus, so we're going to need minus here. Alright, so this is y minus, so we'll do minus y. Y plus. This should work out nice. Let's give it a go. Yeet. Works out.
Alright.
Was
Already a better cover system than most shooters.
Say again?
Damn.
what?
Say again?
You heard me.
Just not being able to walk into walls.
I love glitching through the floor.
It's my favorite part about playing video games. Just
That happened recently. I went through the floor and I died.
Apparently, one common thing with Diva is you eject out of your mech.
Yeah, you eject out of your mech, you fall out of the map.
What are you
Yeah,
guys talking
go
about?
sky high and then you fall out.
yeah, I love the one where you just fly away. Please nerf Diva eject. It's too.
Can you guys
strong.
not talk about Overwatch on this stream?
Aw, man.
I mean, we're pretty much done already, but I just wanted to do one last
Yeah.
thing, which was with the bullet. I'm gonna add a special event for when it leaves the map. So outside room. It's just gonna kill itself.
When what leaves the map? The bullet or the? Oh, okay.
Huh? What'd you say?
Yeah, like when what leaves the map? The bullet, right?
So yeah, the bullet. Whenever it says, hey, this object's XY position is outside of the room's XY width and height, it's just gonna kill itself. Because theoretically before, those bullets we were shooting were just going off to infinity in some direction. But now they should be disappearing, and you might be able to tell that they're
Yeah.
actually getting destroyed right when it touches it. Wonder if I can, like, yeah. But anyways, hopefully that all helped. That's as far as we're gonna go with the example project for now.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I
yeah,
just need to get it
do you
downloaded
guys
and
have
tinker
any
with it.
questions regarding Gamemaker Studio 2?
Not really anything specific right now. I mean, like I said, I just need to start playing around with it and like, yeah, write my own scripts and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Aaron, you probably have to individually teach me since I know.
Right?
nothing.
Can you like speak up?
You probably have to individually teach me because I don't know anything.
Yeah, well,
at all.
go through the beginning of this, because I went really in depth. Well, not really in depth, but like sort of in depth with basic programming skills.
Pretty in depth.
It was okayly in depth, but like you would need practice. But yeah, I'll definitely
Yeah, of
go,
course.
if you need help, be like private messaging and private stuff.
Yeah, I can help you out too.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that wraps it up for Aaron's learning stream. See you guys next
Yeah,
time.
Tino and I can probably help you.
Leave a comment, like, and subscribe.
Smooch that like button.
Nuke that like button.
Give it a
Smack
nice smack on the lip.
Ugh, I see Lee on your desktop. Evil.
Oh no, don't look. It's not my desktop, it's Lay's. I mean,
Uh,
LG Dragons, you didn't hear that from me.
that makes more sense now.
I don't play League at all now. Alright. That's the end of the stream. Any further questions?
Where download Gamemaker?
What?
Google it. It's on the internet.
Yeah.
It's also not free.
Yeah.